Strategy's clear, and it's 3 words: Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas.
Could that work? I mean, looking at the numbers, I mean, you add them up, and those are giant states.
Sure,
I mean, it looks.
Work.
I mean, tonight must be a rough night for that campaign staff, but those are giant numbers out of those states, and that would completely turn the momentum around.
Sure, it could definitely work. The other thing that could work, but again, you know, she doesn't have the momentum right now, is you've got 796 superdelegates, and most of them are still uncommitted. And they're the folks who are watching TV tonight trying to figure out, you know, is the wind really blowing and how hard? And Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have 35 years of chits that they're going to be, believe me, dialing for delegates. I talked to a friend of mine the other day, a congressman who shall remain nameless lest he get even more phone calls, who said they call him every single day, both sides. Everybody in the world he ever wanted to have call him now calls him every day because he's an unpledged delegate.
I would suspect those super delegates, and maybe I'm wrong, be sort of weak in the knees, that they sort of think of their own sort of political future and see which way the wind is blowing, rather than sort of, you know, committing to sort of what they think might be right, for whatever that might be. Am I wrong on that?
Well, there's some of both. Remember, about half the superdelegates are members of the Democratic National Committee. And I say it as a former member of the Democratic National Committee, we're proud hacks. You know, so you got a lot of good old-time hacks in there. All my old friends from Massachusetts who were on with me 20 years ago are still there. The other half are elected officials, many of whom do have to run on the ticket with the nominee, and are trying to figure out who's what I guess Carl called the encyclopedia question of who is the stronger contender against John McCain, and I don't think that's yet completely clear.
Susan, thank you. Well, Senator Clinton had a bad day at the Potomac primaries, but she's already off to Texas, hoping to secure lots of votes there on March 4th. Fox News' Steve joins us live at the Clinton rally in El Paso, Texas. Steve.
Hey, Greta, when things aren't going your way, you look for a comfortable place, and for Hillary Clinton tonight, that place was indeed Texas. Doug Hattaway from the Clinton campaign was up here on the riser, on the press riser, looking at the event, and as it closed out, he turned to the press and said, hey, that was a great kickoff to the Texas campaign. Welcome to it. Obviously emphasizing that they feel much more comfortable here. Now, the makeup of the audience here at this UTEP Coliseum, where 12,000 people are reported to have packed into this place, was largely Hispanic, largely female. It's 2 demographics that Hillary Clinton is going to be going around the state trying to fortify as she walks up towards that March 4th day, where they have both a caucus and a primary here in Texas. A little confusing, but they actually have both, and they're going to be, you know, working on that, and that's part of the reason why, at least the way it was explained by Doug Hattaway, why they're so comfortable here. They feel that they have a broad base of support amongst Hispanics, particularly in Texas, and they have a broad base of support among women here in Texas. So they look at this the same way they would look at Nevada or California, where Hillary Clinton scored 2 rather large victories, is that they are in a place where they can win and should win. And on a night where you lose 3 and are now 8 in a row going against you, you know, you start looking for places where you can start building up your campaign and looking forward to something else. And quite frankly, start talking to the local media about how it is that this campaign is going to go forward in this particular state, and try and share some of the headlines with what undoubtedly will be rather long stories about how Barack Obama swept 3 more primaries tonight. Greta?
Which is sort of interesting, because it's not winner take all. So yes, he won 3, and yes, he should take a bow for it, but it's really not as grim unless you read the headlines or listen to cable news. Then it sounds terrible.
No, certainly not. I mean, it is proportional. All the contests are proportional. They have been since the '88 campaign. So, you know, regardless of, you know, where you finish in this, you're going to pick yourself up some delegates. And when you got a tight, you know, race like this, you know, it's going to continue forward. And it's difficult to get separation. It's also difficult to close in on somebody who's out in front of you. So this is basically the kind of stalemate situation that they're in. And the Clinton campaign would just like to start getting it, you know, going their way again. And they believe that Ohio and Texas on March 4th present the best opportunities.
In fact, I just heard a bump in her voice. She's resilient, she's tested, but she's committed. She loves America, and we're just picking ourselves up and moving forward, we're going to be opening any number of offices in Texas, but you know what? We're not going to leave Wisconsin and Hawaii out. The Senator realizes that it's important to campaign hard everywhere. Tonight, we congratulate Senator Obama for a great run, but we did what we wanted to do. We picked up delegates over these couple of primaries.
Yeah, it's not winner take all.
It is not, and we thank the voters for the votes that they've given us. But the idea is, if you love America, as she said, as she showed in New Hampshire, she wants to continue this journey because she believes the voters of America, the Democratic voters, need to have a right to vote for those that they desire to be elected.
Let me tell you something I was told, and this is troubling, is that President Clinton was speaking at an African-American university in Louisiana, and he got booed by the African-American students there. And there were some posters said, you know, don't show up. And it was President Clinton, not that he's running for office, but was he good for the African-Americans? And what do you make of that? Or am I wrong on that?
Let me say this. I think it's very important that we acknowledge the history of where we are, a woman, an African-American, and we should not divide against each other.
But that's the way the vote is. I mean, you look at these votes, and it's like 92% African-American.
But it is our responsibility to keep pressing forward and campaigning in every single area. There is no doubt that there were great strides made under the administration of President Clinton and the administration of President Carter. There were some great strides made for African Americans, in fact, all Americans. I, as an African American, frankly cannot forget that. Overall, this has nothing to do with whether or not you're supporting Senator Clinton or Senator Obama, but you should not forget that. Well,
I mean, the numbers are rather extraordinary when you look at it. I mean, the African-American vote is heavily in Senator Obama's, and you look at it and you think, well, did the Clintons do anything for African-Americans, or is this sort of a, you know, a kick in the face, or what is this?
I don't think it's a kick in the face. Well, we have to understand the history that is being made. We have to understand that people have a right to make their individual decisions. They listen, and they make choices. And I don't think we should take anything from this overwhelming vote, as we might not take anything from the Latino vote. The idea is that we should celebrate the idea of having a woman and an African American. Let us not divide against each other. And even if the numbers show that they're heavily weighed for one candidate versus another, we have to come back around in November after the convention and work together to get a Democrat in the White House. All of us are committed to that. Senator Clinton is committed to that. Her family is committed to that. And I imagine that Senator Obama likewise, and his supporters. So the idea is that we take what we are given. And that is, we win some and we lose some. There are some high votes and some low votes. Senator Clinton is resilient. She is ready to lead. She does love America, and she has said that she is going, having just come from the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Dorothy Height today, she's not going to give up on any vote, and she's not going to give up on any vote in Texas.
And it's going to be historic no matter what happens. It's either going to be an African-American man or a woman on the Democratic.
And we want to celebrate that. We want to celebrate it, and we want to come back together.
Always nice to see you, Congresswoman.
Thank you
very much. And thank you for being with us tonight.